Hi everyone, welcome back to Barre Basics. I'm Sarah and this is your week 2 set tips, and today we're going to be talking about one of my absolute favorite areas, which is alignment. If you've come to any of my classes, you know I love talking about alignment and the benefits to the body. So hopefully this short video of tips will help show you some common alignment challenges and how to correct for them. Okay, so why does alignment matter? Alignment matters for Barre for a few reasons. First of all, we're making sure that we're working the right muscles. So if I want you working your quads, you're working your quads. You're not dumping weight into, say, your low back, which is a common area that weight goes when we're not working our quads right. That means you're working safely, you're not injuring yourself, and you're building strength in that muscle group. You're also building that mind-body connection. So when I say you should feel this in your quads, you know where that is. So those are some really basic reasons. Again, we're building that mind-body connection, we're building the strength, and we're preventing injury. So I'm going to give you a lot of cues throughout our classes about alignment, but I wanted to show you a few upper and lower body alignment tips, as well as how it tends to go wrong. So I'm going to start with the upper body, and I'm going to grab my weights. So when we're doing our upper body weight work, we tend to be in one of two positions. This first is in parallel, and as a reminder, parallel is when the legs are underneath the hips. So depending on the width of your hips, it might be a little more narrow or a little more wide, but this is your general parallel position. The other option is to be in V. So that's when in parallel, we're going to bring those heels together and the toes come out on the diagonal. If you're unsteady at all, I recommend being in V. It gives you a little bit more of a tripod. With a reminder, you can always hold on to your support. So I'm going to step away from my support and talk about what alignment looks like for the upper body. So once my legs are in proper alignment, one thing I want to think about for the upper body is where are my arms moving? And so some of the things that might make sense to us are actually not great alignment. I'll give you an example with our lateral raises. So this works the middle shoulder, and this is a part of all of our Barre Basics classes. So as a reminder, a lateral raise is up, up, down, down, or maybe just straight up and down. So let's talk about alignment for this. The first thing, and you saw me just correct, is to roll those shoulders up, down, around, and back. We don't want the shoulders up by the ears. We don't want the shoulders pushed forward, and I'm exaggerating so you can see it, but we want the shoulders up, down, around, and back. The other thing we want to think about is where is that arm moving? So when I'm moving for alignment, for any of my shoulder lifts, unless I tell you otherwise, we're coming up to parallel to the ground. So you're not raising way up here, you're not raising here, you're learning this is the point where it's at. You also saw me correct the wrists. We want to think about in our upper body work to have that arm be one unit. So as I'm lifting, the wrist isn't moving, it's staying nice and straight throughout the range of motion. The other thing to think about with all of these is where do my arms belong in space? So it might seem natural if we're doing a lateral raise that the arms are coming straight out. That actually puts a lot of strain on the shoulder. So I'll turn on profile so you can see. So if I were in straight alignment, the arms would be back a little bit. And that's not good alignment for this. I want your arms in your peripheral vision. So that means instead of being here, coming straight out, it's going to be just a little bit forward. And if you have shoulder pain, your permission to walk it in a little bit. So as a reminder, we're thinking about bringing that arm up only to parallel unless I cue you otherwise. We're making sure those shoulders are rolled up, down, around, and back. And we're thinking about having it in our peripheral vision. The last tip for arms, I'm going to show you the front raise. So as a reminder, a front raise is when we have the arms in front. In this case, the palms are facing. Again, I want those shoulders up, down, around, and back. I'm coming only to shoulder height, but I hope you're noticing something about the shape of my arm. It's got a soft bend. So we're not locking our elbows out in any of these moves. Again, that puts a lot of strain. So a soft bend is fine. That's all you need for your upper body weight work. Okay, so those are some alignment tips for the upper body. I'll continue to cue those. I'm going to set these weights down. We're going to talk a little bit about the full body and lower body alignment. Okay, so one of the things you'll hear me say time and again is ears over shoulders, over hips, over heels. And that's talking about the basic alignment of our body in lots of different postures. So that means when I'm standing, I want my ears stacked over my shoulders, over my hips, over my heels. So turning on profile, ears over shoulders, over hips, over heels. The two things I tend to see most is either the head jutting forward, because that's just how we stand, or kind of rolling back a little bit. And you've got a support that doesn't move. Sometimes I'll see people either leaning forward or leaning back. But that's really the alignment that we want to have. So even when I come up and releve, you can still see ears over shoulders, hips over heels. And then when I slide down the imaginary wall, those knees come forward. So I still have my ears over my shoulders, over my hips, over my heels. The same is true if I were to come into V. So here I'm in my V. I'm going to come up and slide down. I'm going to keep that alignment. So what happens when we get in this position, sometimes we get tired and we want to cheat. So then we start to come forward, and that relieves the pressure in the quads and puts them in the glutes. Sometimes we'll do, especially as we get more advanced, we'll do a chair rotation like this. Ooh, that hurts. I'm sore. But this is not working what we want to work, which is the quads. We're compensating. So we want to bring it back. It could be that you're down working in this position and you realize I just can't maintain my alignment. Then I want you to come up, put the heels down, breathe. Breathing's allowed, and then come back into the move. So that's our alignment there. In today's class, we did wide second. Well, I'm filming this before the class, so we're going to be doing wide second. And that's another tricky one for alignment. So we talked about ears over shoulders, over hips, over heels. Obviously, that's not the case when we step into this wide second. So my heels are in line with one another. My toes are pointed out diagonal, just like V. And then as I bend the knees, I'm going to come down, slide down the imaginary wall. And I'm going to check my alignment to see, you can see me adjusting, that my knee is over my ankle. And so then this is where I'm going to be moving. My ears are over my shoulders, over my hips. My heels are probably just a little bit forward. I'm going to turn our profile so you can see that on the side. So here I'm in my nice wide seconds. And I'm going to slide down the imaginary wall. And again, we don't want to be in a squat. So coming forward is going to be a squat. This is a modification for you if you're pre-postnatal. But for my non-pre-postnatal folks, we can get ears over shoulders over hips. So sliding down that imaginary wall. Now, if you're really tight in your hips, and I'm going to show you this modification today, this is hard for some people because going up and down the imaginary wall does put into the outer hips and your thighs some strain. So if that's the case, you can pitch forward just a teeny bit and move in that alignment. So one thing to think about alignment is once you find that alignment, we want to maintain it. We're not moving all over the place once we have it. You can think about just locking the body in that position, and then you're moving it throughout a range of motion. So we don't want our bodies moving all over the place, side to side, unless I'm cueing that. It can be hard to understand if you're in alignment, especially if you're not in a studio and you don't have a mirror. So even though it feels a little bit awkward, I highly recommend just grabbing your phone, setting the timer, and taking a photo if you don't have a mirror to see what does my alignment look like. Because then you're again starting to make that connection, mind and body, to say this is what it looks like. So those are some very quick tips on alignment. I'm going to put another link in the description to another video that's got even more on alignment and off-foot positions. But since this is our basics, I just want you to know the basics so you can get started. Thanks, everyone. I hope you had a good time in class. Bye.